boy. It's never easy, or at least when you think it's easy, or when you think it's going to be easy, it's never easy. Knicks snatch victory from the jaws of defeat in this game. They beat the Wizards 100-97, I think was the final. Not a very pretty game. A fun game at times. Certainly not a pretty game. One of the worst offensive performances that you will see from a team ever. The Knicks were absolutely dreadful on that end of the floor. The Knicks ended up shooting tonight 31 for 90 from the field, 34.4%. Only shot 30% from three. On the flip side, they out-rebound the Washington Wizards 60-38, as was obviously a running theme throughout the broadcast tonight. What do you say about this game? Or what do you say about the Knicks at this point in the season, other than that they are who we thought they were? And that will not change anytime soon. What a maddening, frustrating team. Look, I will say this. The Knicks, since the All-Star break, barring something strange, after the stats update, the Knicks are going to have the best defensive rating in the NBA since the All-Star break. They have, or they're going to have, again, when the stats update, they're going to have the second best net rating in the NBA over their last 8 games. Like, they're playing better basketball. Like, things are good for the most part. Even tonight, when they did not hit shots, and when the offensive process from Julius Randle, I thought was absolutely abysmal. I don't really care how many rebounds he ended up with or how many points he ended up with 18 and 17. I could care less. I thought this was one of Julius Randle's worst games of the season. He ended up going 6 for 22 from the field, 4 assists, 4 turnovers. Terrible process, just abysmal process. Bad shot after bad shot after bad shot. When the Knicks were moving, that's the difference between him and RJ. And look, I'm not going to sit here and praise RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett was 6 for 22 as well. Exact same stat line. Literally the exact same stat line. 6 for 22 for 18 points. I thought the difference was that with RJ, yeah, he's missing shots. I think the process for RJ is always better than the process for Randle. Because with RJ, at least you're getting to the hoop. You're giving your center, in this case, Mitchell Robinson, who was offensive rebounding the basketball all night long, a better chance. But at the same time, again, we're sitting here, we're talking about a game in which the Knicks won, and their best 2 players each went 6 for 22 from the field. It's a sign that the team continues to play hard. Are they playing well? Yes and no. Offensively, as Channing Fry told me on the pod today, the offense is poo-poo. I am not going to disagree with him on that. Anyone who has watched the team for any sustained length of time knows that is very much the case. But listen, they won the game. They're 5-3 in their last 8. Atlanta won tonight, so it's not like they caught up in the play-in. I believe Atlanta won tonight. At least they were winning last I checked. So yeah, no benefit there. Is the play-in race over? Probably, but it is what it is. Before I move on to the super chats, I do want to highlight 2 players who I thought had excellent games tonight. First and foremost, Emmanuel Quickley. Emmanuel Quickley, about 2 weeks ago, had a game where he had 27 points on 10 shots. In his last game, he had 18 points on 5 shots. Tonight, he had 15 points on 7 shots. All of the shooting woes for him earlier in the year, I think, have fallen by the wayside. He's figuring out how to get to the free throw line again. He is playing the best basketball, I would say, of the season. I would argue he's playing the best basketball of his career. I think Emmanuel Quickley had one of his better games of the year tonight. Really, really good stuff from him. They would not have won the game without him. Played 28 minutes, same as Alec Burks. We'll talk about Burks. Very good game from Quickley. And then Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson, a force all night long. 10 offensive rebounds, tied, I believe, his career high there. 15 points also. This was a great matchup for Mitch against the center who is, what should we politely say about Kristaps Porzingis? Not the most physical guy in the world. Mitch is going to be able to dominate the board on these against these teams. And I actually thought it was a mistake by Tibbs to take him out because the Wiz were going to play, hack a Mitch. Because, hey, guess what? It's not like your usual crunch time offense is any better. Mitch hit the 2 free throws too before Tibbs took him out. I didn't love that. I thought his offensive rebounding was their best offense all night. So a great game from Mitch, great game from Quickly. Pretty mediocre to bad games from everybody else. It was good to see Grimes back out there. I'm sure people are going to want to talk about the fact that Deuce didn't play. Look, team played 9 guys tonight. 6 of them are on rookie contracts. Of the 6 guys who are on rookie contracts, 2 were their most important. 2 of the 4 most important players tonight were on rookie contracts, or excuse me, 3 of the 4 most important players tonight in RJ, Mitch, and Quickly. Fournier had a good game too, we should say. Shot it well, had some nice steals there, but it's the Fournier experience. We're used to that already. But yes, a lot of people are going to talk about the fact that we didn't get to see Deuce McBride, and we'll get to that when we get to it. On that note, let's go to the videotape and see what people want to talk about. Guy Hooper, then. I have a feeling I know how we're going to get started off tonight. The Randall experience is something to behold. Has that ridiculous Burks small ball lineup ever worked? Why is that Tibbs' idea of small ball anyway? I guess you are referring to the lineup at the end there with Burks, Quickly, Fournier, RJ, and Randall. I mean, I don't think we've seen that lineup a whole lot. Come on, give me a sec. I'll look it up right now. How many minutes it's played? I don't think that particular small ball lineup has played a whole lot of minutes for the Knicks. But just in general, if you're critiquing the idea of playing Randall at the 5 and like Burks out there with Quickly, I mean, I didn't have a problem with the lineup. I had more of an issue with the fact that they took Mitch off the court because I thought what Mitch was giving you on the offensive boards was, as valuable as anything that you had going on in the game. The infatuation with I will never understand. Look, again, Burks is what he is. By the way, when the Knicks were hemorrhaging the lead, who got to the foul line and got 2 points? Alec Burks. It's funny how he does that. Yeah, I mean, they don't have a point guard. So I don't know. We've been saying it since game 7. It hasn't changed. It's game whatever it is now, game 70. Team didn't have a point guard all year. They still don't have a point guard. The closest thing they have is Emmanuel Quickly. I thought Quickly played great tonight. I thought Burks played fine tonight. They were both on the floor there late. As far as Randall, I've made my feelings on Julius Randall pretty well known at this point. I would like for them very much to move on from Julius Randall. I think Julius Randall is a player who does not think the game at a high enough level, and it did not bite us in the ass last year when he was making a whole bunch of shots. He's not making those shots anymore, and I don't believe that we could rely on him to make those shots consistently ever again. So yeah, it is something to behold. Rob Delusma, what's up, JM? What's going on, Rob? Hope you and the KFM clan are well. The front office are going to let Mitch Rob walk, and it won't feel right seeing him in another uniform. They might let him walk. And if they do, I promise you, I'm making a commitment right now. I will get on here and I will absolutely kill them for letting him walk. Not necessarily because I think that they should pay him whatever amount of money that some other team is going to potentially pay him this summer, but because you have had this guy for 4 years. You kind of knew what he was when you drafted him in terms of he's quirky, all this, that, and the other thing. Why didn't you trade him? Why didn't you get something for him when you had the chance? Why take it into this summer? Why risk letting him get away for nothing? And this is something where me and Jeremy disagree. Jeremy's like, well, they get a trade exception. I don't care about a trade exception. He is a at worst, I think, an average starting center in the NBA. Now, is there a way that if a team comes at him with an offer of 16, $17 million a year, so 15, 16, $17 million a year, should they agree to pay him that much? I'm not really sure if they should, because I don't think he's that caliber of player, and I think that contract can come back to bite them in the ass. But again, that just gets me to the point that I've been making, I feel like, for since the trade deadline, which is like, if you think there's a possibility the guy's gonna get away, you know, get something for him while you can. Um, to answer the question, by the way, going into tonight, the Burks, Fournier, Randall, Barrett, quickly lineup had played a total of 9 minutes this season. So I don't know. I don't know what you're complaining about there. Joseph John, what's going on, Joseph? Worst offensive system in the league. Hashtag Channing Frye. Yeah, it's read and react. It's read and react. And for read and react to work, you need two things. You need players who command the attention of the defense and can create matchup advantages. Knicks don't have that right now, especially when RJ's having an off night and when Julius is having an off night. And you need really good decision makers. And the Knicks have some good decision makers, and we see those good decision makers making good decisions occasionally. Emmanuel Quickly, in particular, RJ Barrett sometimes. But the guy who's spearheading a majority of your offense, most oftentimes, is not making good decisions. This came to my mind when I was watching in the fourth quarter, where the Wizards had no center in. And as soon as they took their center out, what's the first thing they did? RJ Barrett had the ball, went, pistol set, threw a lob to Mitch. Easy money. Next possession, Knicks come down the court. What does Julius Randle do? Takes a fadeaway 16-footer. Fred Katz mentioned it on the pod the other day. Why does Julius Randle never throw lobs to Mitch? Well, maybe he doesn't like Mitch. Maybe he has an issue with Mitch. Maybe he has an issue with other players on the team. Kendra Randall intimated that the alleged, locker room beefs, all a product of us content creators. It's funny you bring that up, Kendra, because I didn't hear any content creators talking about locker room beefs until you brought it up. Talk about spilling the beans. Again, why doesn't Julius Randle throw lobs to Mitch ever? Especially in a situation like that when it's easy money. In any case, I'm digressing. Is it the worst offensive system in the league? I think it's bottom 5 offensive personnel in the league, and without Derrick Rose. So when you have bad offensive personnel, it's like, and that's no disrespect to Channing Frye. I think he made a good point. I do think it's an ugly offense. And on a night like tonight, you score 100 points against a team like the Wizards, who doesn't play defense worth anything. It's no great shakes. Dan Hidalgo, what's going on, Dan? LOL. I love that, starting that comment like that. On the bright side, so good to see Grimes be able to resume his rookie season. Yes, great. Rusty, but such a plus player. Every NBA team would love to have. All I could see tonight when I was watching that kids lineup play again is the notion of next season. Grimes and RJ in particular, and quickly, I look, they're probably not. Emmanuel Quickly is probably not going to be the starting point guard of the Knicks next year. But man, Quickly, Grimes, and RJ, the three of those dudes, I just love. I think they make beautiful music together. I think they're good. I think they have synergy. I think they up each other's energy. And when RJ's making shots, like, they could all shoot it. And you got Quickly making decisions like this, driving like this, drawing fouls like this. I think it really does create, a nice situation. Well, we're doing lineups actually. I'm now curious how many minutes those guys have played together. So I'm going to look that up as well. But yeah, I love Grimes. It was great to see him back. So Barrett, Grimes, and Quickly this season have played 122 minutes together. Not a significant sample size by any stretch of the imagination. 102.9 offense, not good at all. 94.4 defense. It's pretty hysterical. Those guys could defend. If you get one more, plus If you get an engine at the 4, a real engine, not Julius Randle, then we could have a conversation about those lineups being really sustainable. Kevin Danishevsky. Well, that was a win, I guess. It's such a shame, and I don't disagree with you, Kevin. It's a feel bad loss, right? It's the definition of a feel bad loss. 4 minutes left in the game when they were up by 15. Like, you know, so much to feel good about. Yeah, we complain about Randall like hijacking the offense and taking crappy shots, and like RJ didn't have a great night, but like everything was great. And then the team just absolutely implodes, and then it raises all of the questions that every fan has been asking all season. Like, why can this team not close games? Why does the coach, who has had an entire year to figure out the best people to put on the floor, continue to not be able to avoid these late game meltdowns and continue to put guys on the floor that clearly are not getting the job done? And like, I know they won tonight, but like for everybody who's complaining about, more Burks, Randall, whatever down the stretch, like just not any rhyme or reason to why they're doing what they're doing on offense in those last couple minutes. I can't blame anybody. It's all valid. It's all valid. And at the same time, I have to be the guy to sit here and say, this team is still playing hard for their coach. And you know that because they have the best defensive basketball since the All-Star break. And some people don't care about that. There's a lot of people don't care about that. They just, doesn't play the right guys, offensive system, this, that, and the other. Okay, that's fine. And I understand it's easier and more convenient to pick and choose the facts that support the argument that you want to make. And that is that this team should get a new head coach. And that's fine. I have to be a little more even keeled. Hush Zoo. John, can we agree about this on Tibbs? He seriously can't keep enabling Randall to ISO over and over. None of this, what else can we do, or what else can we go to? The young lineup shows were so much capable of so much more on offense. I love the young lineup. I think the young lineup is awesome. I think the way the young lineup plays, it's tough to foresee that them being able to play that way for an entire game. I think it's perfectly suited for a backup 5. And then for the Randall ISO ball, it's awful. It's terrible. One of the things that I've struggled with most this year is how to handle the fact that this continues to be allowed to happen. Because you're either saying Tibbs is allowing it or encouraging it, or Tibbs can't control it. And whatever the answer is, it's not good for Tibbs. What I'm more in the camp of is I would love to see them ship out Randall and bring in a player, like literally almost anyone else, who's not going to commandeer the offense like this, but can get you a little bit of on ball something, and even if you have to trade Randall for someone who is not an engine at all, like a Harrison Barnes type or Harrison Barnes, and you bring in Jalen Brunson to be your number 2, or you trade for Malcolm Brogdon to be your number 2 behind RJ. Like, I think that team's a lot better. Like RJ and the kids that are here right now, that team's not going to be good. They're not going to be able to score enough points. If you give me RJ and another, like again, a Brogdon, a Brunson, someone solid, who knows what the hell they're doing, maybe play a little bit more up pace, up tempo, the whole thing, and you get Randall out of here, I think you're going to go back to seeing Tibbs as a good coach. Do I know that for sure? No, of course not. But I agree with you. It's incredibly frustrating. All right. By the way, shout out tonight to Rich McLeod. Rich is our guest producer. Andrew Claudio is taking the night off, so we appreciate him for filling in. Yeah, so shout out to Rich. Hush Zoo, I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but I hope the Knicks call up the Wiz and ask what Kuzma's price is. I'm on board with keeping Tibbs if we trade Randall. Kuzma has played himself into a nice little role there in Washington. He's been really good. He's just a solid NBA player at this point. I think he doesn't look good on Washington because, or rather, let me rephrase that. He looks good on Washington. I think Washington hasn't been good, but that's no fault of Kuzma's. What's the price going to be to get Kuzma? I have no idea. I mean, is there a world where you could trade Randall to the Wizards and get back Kuzma and something else, obviously to make the money work? Maybe. I would make that phone call. I would much rather have Kyle Kuzma on my team than Julius Randle. But I don't know if that's a realistic possibility. We'll see. Bernard Richardson, F Porzingis. That's it. That's the comment. I love it, Bernard. Thank you so much. Jeremy E. Would you agree that this team is one Russell Westbrook away from a top 5 pick? Yeah, I'll address the Russ thing. I figured it was going to come up, so I waited for it. So, yeah, for anybody who missed the Channing Frye interview, he brought up the idea of he actually was trying to get me to guess what star player the Knicks should trade for that was good before this year. And he said star player, and of course, I didn't think Russell Westbrook because Russell Westbrook's not a star player anymore. And it threw me for such a loop. I didn't even know what to say. So I had a little bit of a, cat got my tongue. That being said, if I'm being completely honest, even had I been more prepared for that to come out of his mouth, which I was not, I don't think I would have pushed back on it. And the reason is twofold. One, if I'm just being honest, it's not my personality to push back against people, especially I have a thing where if I'm talking to someone who I respect a lot and I think is just way more qualified to be talking about basketball than I am, I have a very difficult time pushing back on almost anything they say. It is what it is. Something I guess I should probably work on. But yeah, if Channing Frye is like, yeah, I think the Knicks should trade for Russell Westbrook. You know what? Channing Frye's earned the right to make that comment. And the other thing, and this is the real reason why I don't think I was going to push back on it, because I know where it would lead. And I'm not going to get into a conversation with a guy who has actually played in the league about whether Russell Westbrook is good anymore. I mean, yeah, I don't think that's the podcast anyone wanted to listen to. It was be like, well, did you know that Russell Westbrook's efficiency is in the bottom, 22nd percentile of all, point guards? Like, that's not why I do this. That's not why I have these pods. That's not why I want to talk to guys like Channing Frye. He's entitled to his opinion. And by the way, it's not a unique opinion. Listen to any NBA player, any former NBA player, they respect the hell out of Russ because of the way he plays, the way he approaches the game. And the last thing I will say, and we'll probably get into this a little bit in the next podcast me and Jeremy do, but and look, you guys know me. I have said it before. I'll say it again. Russell Westbrook is my least favorite player to watch in the NBA. I remember 3-4 years ago when the idea of trading for Chris Paul came up from the Rockets, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, how dumb would the Knicks be to trade for Chris Paul?" Well, guess they wouldn't have been so dumb. Am I willing to think about what a world would look like in which we took on Russell Westbrook's expiring contract, got rid of Randall, got rid of Fournier, and got 2 Laker first-round picks and maybe a pick swap? I'll be honest. I'd be interested in exploring that scenario. I know a lot of people would disagree with me, and again, it would force me to have to watch Russell Westbrook. But it's funny how many ideas you think are crazy until you actually do them, and you see the results. So we'll hopefully not cross that bridge because I really don't want to watch Russ. I really do not care for him. But everybody's entitled to their opinion, including Channing Frye, especially Channing Frye. Drew P. Extend Mitch. Odds IQ starts a point guard next season. The odds that quickly starts a point guard next season, I would put it at 15%. It would mean that they didn't acquire a point guard this summer, and I think they're going to acquire a point guard this summer. I don't know who it's going to be, but I think they'll acquire somebody. We'll find out soon enough, I guess. Lunas, Emirat, what's going on, Lunas? Part of me really believes that the point guard we've been desperate for can be quickly. When his shot is hitting, in my opinion, he could run it and allows RJ to create more. One of my newsletter subscribers sent me a really smart message today regarding the notion of what bringing in a high usage point guard would look like alongside Julius Randle and RJ Barrett, two guys who clearly very much want the ball in their hands. And I, unless that guy is like an NBA like a superstar, I I don't know. It's something I've been thinking about a lot because it really is about finding someone who could fit next to those guys if you don't trade them, which is again part of why I want to get rid of Julius Randle because I think as long as he's here, he's going to see himself as one of the two lead dogs of this offense. And it's really, I mean, there's only one ball, and no one's been able to ever do the three stars at once thing. As a famous line once read, someone's got to be Chris Bosh. Um, I Would I love to see quickly get to the opportunity? Yeah, I would. I think he's earned it. But if he doesn't get the opportunity, as long as he's playing a lot, which he is now, and he's playing like this, I'll sign for it. Kenny Rose, Q needs to run the offense. Gaining confidence. Yes. Is RJ really worth $100 million? Come on. It's one bad game. The guy's been lighting it up. Not efficiently, but he's been doing really well for 2.5 months now. Won't get it unless Randall is gone. 41% is not going to do it. I love Grimes. Yeah, RJ had a bad game. He'll be fine. I'm not worried about RJ Barrett, and RJ's going to get the max, and he deserves the max, and the Knicks should pay him the max. Mild Cowboy Mo, what's going on, man? Mitchell Robinson doesn't have any offensive moves. It was kind of fun to see him take that little baby jump hook, and he left it short. But his ability to offensive rebound is irreplaceable. I pray the front office resigns him. Yeah, I look personally, whether they re-sign him for a decent number, even a slight overpay, or whether they sign and trade him for something that's fair value, good solid value, like I'm not going to be apoplectic about either of those. I think either is an okay scenario. I just don't want to lose him for nothing. So, I guess from that sense, I do hope they re-sign him. My thoughts on an AB plus 223 seconds trade. I'm assuming you mean like what could we get for Alec Burks and 2023 seconds? Probably not much. I think Alec Burks is his value is that of a neutral contract in the NBA. I don't think anyone's banging down their door for Alec Burks, and I don't think the seconds are going to make that much of a difference. Delsky, what's going on, Delsky? What kind of player or specific player, if you had in mind, can we get if we package Randall Burks and a 9th or 10th pick? So the issue there is you are dealing with a lot of money. Randall is going to be on the books. Well, actually, no, because you could make that trade. You can make that trade before the new league year, so you can get Randall on his current salary, and Burks is making about $10 million. So, what kind of player can you get? Goodness gracious, you're gonna make me think about this. I think you could get it like okay, in theory, right? In theory, you could get a low-level all-star with that sort of package. But then you start looking around the league and you're like, okay, fine. Who's the low-level all-star that a team is going to trade us for that package? And there's no real obvious answer. Like to me, I always go back to like, okay, who are the Randall teams? And then it's like Portland, Washington, once upon a time, maybe Sacramento. Does like Indiana have any interest in Julius Randle? Like I don't know. I don't really think so. And then you're talking about that kind of money. Like just look at the guys who make around $30 million or a little bit more than $30 million. It's not going to be easy to find a trade. because the teams that have those players are not going to be banging down the door to get that package. Um, I don't see an obvious one. I really don't. I hate to leave you hanging here. I really don't see an obvious trade. For a player making the amount of money that trade would be able to get you. Um, I could be wrong, I suppose, but I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it, unfortunately. Kenny Rose, what's going on? One more. Thanks for contributing, by the way, Kenny. This team really needs a young coach with a future of Barrett, Grimes, quickly, and more draft picks. Enough of ISO ball. Love the future. I don't know. I don't think young coach needs to be with young team. Might they benefit from a young coach? Sure. I don't think it has anything to do with the age of the team, though. Dan Scaglione, how do you feel about a Randall for Brogdon swap this summer? Okay, perfect follow-up to the previous question. We get a point guard, and Randall gets to go play with his pal Miles Turner or beautiful Indiana. Would I trade Julius Randle for Malcolm Brogdon? Yes. Do I think Indiana would do that? I'm See, Indiana's an interesting franchise. Like, they've never tanked until this year. And this year, they were kind of almost forced into a tank. They didn't want to tank. They waited a while until they traded Sabonis and they got back a damn good player. And they're like still playing their guys. They're still playing to win. I just don't like. God, maybe they do that. I don't know. Maybe they feel like with Halliburton, Randall, Turner, Duarte, whoever they get in the draft this year, maybe they feel like that's a squad and they could go and they could, be a 4 seed or a 5 seed or a 6 seed or whatever they want to be. I have such a difficult time seeing anybody in the league right now viewing Julius Randle as anything other than a distressed asset. And you could get a good player for a distressed asset, but it's likely going to be another distressed asset. See Kristaps Porzingis for Spencer Dinwiddie. I just don't know why Indiana would do that because Brogdon's not a distressed asset. Brogdon is good. I hope so. I hope so. Maybe the Knicks sweeten the pot somehow. I don't know how they would sweeten the pot, but yeah. Well, I don't know. And also, a lot of this comes down to Brunson, too. If they can just get Brunson, then they'll probably get Brunson. Anthony Sixto, what's going on, Anthony? Randall subbed in, score 4 consecutive baskets to snatch the lead, double-double with 17 boards. Most of the game had the highest plus minus. Ugly offensively, but he helped us win tonight. Man, I have to strongly disagree with that. I know he's averaged 24, 10, and 6 over his last 20. I don't know how you could say a player. Look, did he play good defense? Sure. I think pretty much the whole team played solid defense, although he was covering Kuzma on at least one of those late threes. Again, it all comes back to Tibbs, right? Tibbs tells you every game after the post game when Randall drives, or when Randall drives and he's asked about Randall. It's always the same thing. When he attacks the basket, it makes us a better, more dangerous team. So if your coach is saying that, it's a sign that you should do that more. And he doesn't do that more. Why? Why, when he's shooting 35% from long mid-range and 31% from 3? Why? It's inexcusable in my mind. And the process is so bad. It's so bad. And it evokes a player who, and especially, here's the other thing, especially since so many of those possessions come with no ball movement whatsoever, where there's little to no attempt to generate a better shot. Some people put that all on Tibbs. I'm not absolving Tibbs, but I put that on. If the player's the one who's doing the jab step and the jab step and the jab step and the fadeaway, I can't say he had a bad game. He was not helping the cause tonight. Not against his shitty team. Against another team, you may have needed him, but no. CT Pittman, great pod this morning. Thanks, CT. I'm glad you enjoyed it. After this post-game show, I got to go on Twitter Spaces and listen to the divided fan base of play-in Optimists versus Tank Commanders. Day coming full circle. God bless anyone who still goes on Twitter and listens to, any of the people who do these things. I certainly would not have it in me. But CT, you're always welcome here. I'll say that. Andrew Claudio. Of course, Andrew Claudio chimes in. Hello, Andrew Claudio. How are you? Hey, Macri. First time, long time. Just checking in to make sure no one else on this channel suggested Russell Westbrook is the next savior. Hashtag 35 wins. I love it. Perfect. Perfect comedic timing, as was the case on Final Review Pod for the Silence of the Lambs. I'm just thinking of some of the lines. Okay. We got a tweet from Fred Katz. Speaking of Mr. Randall, Julius Randle said he cried twice about Kenny Payne leaving the Knicks for the head coaching job at Louisville. It made me sick. Randall said, Randall absolutely glowing right now about how much he loves Payne and how happy he is for him. Called it a storybook ending. That's right. I mean, shout out to Kenny Payne. We love Kenny Payne. Kenny Payne's awesome. I'm glad for him. Yeah. Robert Cross. What's going on, Robert? First time, long time, John. I must say that I may have gotten hype about Russ in the Knicks uniform for about 37 seconds. Do you blame me? I blame anyone who thinks that like Russ is going to lead them good anywhere basketball wise. But I look at all these things from an asset valuation perspective. And like, if you view Julius Randle as a negative asset, which I don't think is unreasonable, it may just be a question of whether he's a slightly negative asset or an extraordinarily negative asset. If you view him as that, and you view the next 4 years and $117 million as an albatross, not an albatross, but like as bad money, and you could get off that money along with Fournier's 2 years and 38 million or 36 million, for a guy that expires, and you get picks with it from a team that like doesn't look like it knows where it's going right now. That part of it is interesting to me. And look, look, Russ is not my cup of tea. Plays hard every night. I'm so fearful because if you don't design at this point in his career, with just how horrendous he is from everywhere else on the floor besides at the rim, and even at the rim, he's not good at the rim. But if it's just Russ driving, you could survive. But like, why would I want to like trust his decision making? I'm sitting here complaining about Julius Randle's decision making. So I'm going to go from the frying pan into the fire with Russell Westbrook. I can't get excited about that. That would be a hold your nose trade. Hush Zoo. One more from Hush. Thanks for the contributions, Hush. We appreciate it. I won't lie. Yes, having a point guard is up there, but I feel like having Randle on this team is more damaging than not having a point guard. I think Julius Randle I've said it before, I think he's a cancer. I think he's a cancer to everything that they're trying to do. I think you need to get him off the team as soon as possible. Other people think Tibbs is the cancer. Who's right? I guess we'll find out soon enough, because something tells me they're not both going to be back next year. Rich, Jonas wants his last comment pinned. I don't know what it was, but I will try to find it. Hang on one sec here. Okay. 2 more supers, and then we'll try to. Oh, here we go. And then I got Jonas. CT Pittman. And did you see the pregame Wizards commentators were talking about Worldwide West saying, don't believe what you're hearing regarding reports about Tibbs? I did not. But I think we've gotten all the reporting we need from Tibbs. Tibbs is not going to get fired. Whether he should or shouldn't, different story, right? Okay. Jonas. Are you afraid that Mitch will stop trying at this level if he gets a big contract, knowing his inconsistent mindset and mentality? I fear this could happen once he gets his financial security. I would love to be able to say I'm not afraid, but I mean, man, I trusted Julius Randle. I don't think it's the money that but like Julius Randle was playing like his life depended on it last year, and it showed at both ends of the floor. And then he got paid, and Mitch, like where is he on the socio emotional wavelength? Um, he's just a strange guy. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. Am I afraid? Yeah, I'm a little afraid. Sure. But I also know he's a special talent. Um, I just don't think this notion that like, oh my God, they have to pay Mitch because there is and again, shout out to Fred Katz for bringing this up, as others have too. Benji's said it all year. Tom Piccolo has said it. Like, if ever there was a player that you're like, get this guy a stretch five, it's RJ Barrett, and to a lesser extent, Julius Randle. Now, obviously, I want to get rid of Randle, but and Mitch is in a stretch five. So, what are we going to do about the fact that maybe the best version of this team has Mitchell Robinson coming off the bench, or Mitchell Robinson not closing games? I don't know how to reconcile all that. Brian Lests, what's going on, Brian? J Mac, I've been critical of Tibbs this year, but people rooting for his firing 1 year after a playoff berth are missing how the decision perpetuates the air of dysfunction. Respected coaches deserve more. I think that's a big part of it, Brian. And you know who else has been critical of Tibbs this year? Me. Again, and everybody, nobody wants to pay attention to that because everybody thinks it's just me giving a little bit so I can stand on my soapbox and preach the gospel of Tibbs, and that's fine. I mean it when I say he has not coached a good year. I think how he handled the Kemba thing was an abomination. And it is an abomination that is indicative of how he is as a communicator, and it's bad. And I think that really soured a lot of shit in this locker room, and a lot of the problems this year were partially a result of how he handled that. I think he could have trusted quickly more throughout the entire year. As we've talked about very clearly, has not gotten through to Julius Randle. And like they do run a basic offense. There's no question about it. They run a basic offense, and it's not. It's not. Oh, thank you, Rich. I got it. And it's not pretty. It's not pleasing on the eyes. So again, he has not done a good job. He's also a coach of a losing team that is playing their asses off still at this point for him, and he continues to do one thing that other people, all these geniuses that want to pin him as a bottom five coach or whatever nonsense people want to spout, to just conveniently ignore the fact that you have a coach that is going to arm a team every single night with a defensive game plan that has the capability of working against whoever the opponent is, because he works harder at formulating that defensive game plan than anybody. Again, most fans don't care about that, and that is at their convenience to do so. But I will not stop preaching about that because it matters, because I've had to watch shitty basketball for 20 years, and the genesis of that shitty basketball for 20 years has been teams that aren't prepared on defense and don't give a shit about defense, and this team does both. They care and they're prepared. And for the evidence of that, just look at any of the stats. First and foremost, their defensive rating without Kemba Walker on the floor, which is the equivalent of a top 5 defense. Same as it was last year. Their net rating without Kemba on the floor was the same as it was last year. It's just, but people are going to pay attention to what they want to pay attention to, because I don't know. They like getting likes on Twitter. What the fuck do I know? Juanon. What's going on, Juanon? Macri, great interview with Fry. Would love to know more about the locker room stuff. Randall's wife reference could explain a lot this season. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Still think Aiden is in play this offseason. I don't think Aiden is in play this offseason. I would be very surprised if they gave him all that money. I don't think he solves their issues. I think, different type of player maybe, but I don't know. As for what as for the locker room stuff that Randall's wife referenced, I could just say that from what I've heard, Randall has had issues with certain people in the Knicks locker room. Not coach, but players. And I'm not going to say who those players are because I have no confirmation of this, but I can tell you with good authority that it has not been copacetic between Julius and the other guys in terms of like not anything big that again maybe it's been big and I just haven't heard about it, but like is he a fan of everybody else on his team? No, he's not. And has that caused issues? Yes, it has. And it's guys that everybody likes, you know. But you know, I don't know how much does the front office care about that. I'll tell you this: we'll know if certain guys are traded this offseason and Julius Randle's still here. We'll know exactly what the front office thinks about who's more important. We'll see. Jessica, what's going on, Jessica? I think this is probably our last comment of the night, because I'm gonna get out of here. Shout out to guest producer Rich. Yes, shout out to guest producer Rich. Great night from Sims. Yeah, I like Sims. Sims is always great. Sims is a pleasure. Sims is a ball of energy. He's the guy I'm excited about moving forward. Rougher night from RJ, but when his shots were not falling, he started finding others and never stopped playing hard. Great pod today. Thanks, Jessica. I appreciate that. Always appreciate you chiming in here. I look, RJ's 21. It's all growth at this point for me. Willing to overlook a lot of flaws from him to see the bigger picture. And I think he's earned that right with how he's played this year. That's it. Appreciate everybody for chiming in, coming, watching, checking it out on a Friday night in which the Knicks tried very hard to lose, but they did not. Thankfully, I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll see what happens over the next 3 weeks. I guess we'll see what happens on ping pong ball night. But I will be back on Sunday after the Jazz game. Can they beat the Jazz? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. Until then, enjoy your weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Peace out.